Do I need to go on your stream to see what you're cooking up?
I will send you a screenshot.
So you're actually taking this serious, okay?
Yeah, I did take it seriously. And what I did is I basically did them in groups of 3. So it's vaguely ordered from 1 to 20, but not like I'll take some objections. Like, yeah. What do you think?
We're doing a spontaneous call with Zajef, and basically what Zajef did, I think, is he said he watched a watchmojo.
Yeah, watchmojo just released their a Genshin video, top 20 strongest Genshin Impact characters.
Okay, so it's like a video of all time, but I guess you
okay. Unironically though, I expected a lot worse. It was a lot more reasonable than I expected. There were some wild things for sure, but like as a general rule, every character in the top 20 was a good character, which surprised me.
Okay, fair enough. People in my chat would know. I guess people in your chat might not know, but me personally, I'm not the kind of guy who does like tier lists or rankings or shit like. Yeah, I personally just don't even get into those sort of things. So I don't have a list myself.
I also usually try to stay away from it, but I was kind of curious, like what mine would look like.
So I guess first of all, it kind of just comes down to how do you define? Wait, is it strength or is it top? What is the clickbait? Top characters or strongest?
Top 20 strongest.
Top. Okay, it's a double clickbait. Oh, perfect. Okay, so the first question is like, how are we defining strongest? Like, what does that even mean, really?
The way I think about like character strength is a healthy mix of how strong their strongest teams are and how many teams they can be a part of, and how much both of those things matters. It depends on how I'm feeling on a given day.
Okay. Is it because it's the thing, like it depends. What is it? It's like beauty is the eye of the beholder, whatever. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch before, and then I've talked about it like I think when TGS did his like tier list sort of thing, and other people done it. It's like how you look at the game is probably different than how I look at it, and it's not even like about like takes or something. It's just about like personal, like what you're interested in. So like, a classic example would be like you or someone else might focus on like what they would recommend to a new player, like get these characters, whatever. Or it might even be slightly older than that. It might be like it might be characters you recommend if someone's struggling to clear the abyss, which is like further on down the line. Or then it might be like further on from that, and it's like characters or like stuff that would help them do the abyss easier or whatever. And then it might be like closer to me, and I'm not even at the end. It's like more tryhards than me. But just for example, like me, it would be characters that would be in the DPS you want to play, the best team, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm actually like wondering. I'm guessing you'd probably have xingqiu, maybe Nahida, fischl, zhongli lower.
No, I mean, look. Okay, so here's the thing. I felt like it's always been a lonely hill for me. I've always said that zhongli is one of the best characters in the game. Even as like a speedrunner or a tryhard, because not only is he good for like casual players or mobile players, but maybe it's changed a bit now because of what's her name, Shironen kind of directly treading on his toes a bit more. But there's actually a lot of like tryhard teams that even use like zhongli, and even if you look at the current abyss today, which I was just doing today, like I mentioned it in a video.
I haven't done it yet.
Okay, well I don't want to. Okay, I'll spoil it. Who cares anyway?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Basically, like I mentioned it before, but when I was talking about Shilonen for like Navia teams, I mentioned that a lot of times where they want to like shield geo characters and get you to play geo characters, geo content, they put those two bosses, and they actually ended up doing that. It's the plunge geo shield guy, and then it's the golem. Yeah, that dude. And yeah, stuff like that, like zhongli is because his shield break and shit. So basically it's like he's actually pretty good for defensive utility and offensive utility, but now obviously with Shilonen, she's kind of taken away a lot of that for him, so he's kind of a bit more only defensive, but he still has the shield break thing, and he's still, you know, he's still zhongli. But
yeah, I mean, I agree, like there's a reason he's still relatively high in my list.
Like if someone put a gun to my head, if I was in America, and they made me, like, I don't do tier lists, but I have said like my top 5 characters before, maybe top 4, I think.
What is your top 5, top 4 characters?
It was like, if I had to, I would have said Bennett, Kazuha, Xiangling, and zhongli for me. And then after that, I don't really care because after that is subjective. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of subjective the whole way, but yeah, for me, it's
So your top character, like your top 4, it excludes carries entirely.
yeah. For me, it's like
The way you look at it is like, what are the strongest characters in terms of making your carry shine, so a carry couldn't be there. Am I understanding correctly?
kind of, but not really. It's just like it was like Bennett and Xiangling, and I don't know, people like to say like Kazuha with Sheila is kind of not the same now, whatever. But at least like Bennett and Xiangling, it's if you're playing certain characters, you either have them in your team or
you don't, and it sucks.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, for me, they're probably like the top 2. Kazuha maybe. Kazuha's grouping is kind of, but then like people are talking about like Sheila and whatever. I don't really care. But for basically for me, Bennett. And I think someone actually talked about this with me. Sorry for yapping, but someone said this yesterday to me when people were talking in my chat. They were saying how xingqiu might be your personal strongest character for you personally, but you might think more strength-wise. You might agree with me that Bennett is the strongest though, but xingqiu is your personal, like, well, you know, there's like 2 different, it's like your personal one, how you see the game, but there's also like who
Bennett
you actually
is more irreplaceable because Bennett has less alternatives. But and like that's a fair way to look at it, right? Like you put Bennett's value higher because Bennett doesn't have a real alternative, whereas xingqiu often has alternatives, and like that's a completely reasonable way to look at it.
Like I would honestly say, like when people talk about, because that like for the last few months there's been like the furina bandwagon where people say like Furina is the strongest character in the game. Like I've genuinely tried to think, and there are many teams where Bennett or Xiangling, you basically have to, if you play them if you like them, and if you don't like them you have to deal with it. You have to play them unless you want to lose a lot of damage. But there was no real team where there's a massive dip where Furina has to be played. She's more of like a icing on the cake sort of character.
Yeah.
Whereas characters like Bennett and Xiangling, you know, there's no replacement. They're more like oppressive. Your certain DPSs that you want to play, you kind of quote unquote need them.
Yeah,
but
good
there
teams
isn't.
Where you play Furina, if you replace Furina, it's not that big of a deal. But good teams where you play Bennett, you replace Bennett, you get gimped.
Exactly, and it's not that I don't want people to like think, oh, you think Furina sucks. It's not that she sucks. That's a different thing altogether. It's just that it's a difference of like being on the icing on the cake or being like needed, quote unquote needed. And honestly, I don't really know how many of those other characters here are like needed anywhere. I think the closest I could probably get to think of that would be like Nahida in certain Dendro teams, maybe. That's for me. That's for me why Bennett and Xiangling are stand out. It's because if I try and think, like, you might be able to think of one now, but for most of these other characters, there is no
Nilou.
like. Okay, yeah, Nilou in a bloom team.
Like a
okay.
Nilou team without Nilou.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. But then that's kind of cheesy. Like there is kind of it's okay, it depends how much you want to count that as a thing. But yeah, I mean, can you think of one? Maybe you might say like Faruzan in an Animo team. I don't know.
Yeah, Faruzan for sure. But like, that's why Faruzan is in my honorable mentions. Like, I think people heavily underestimate how broken Faruzan is.
Do people still?
Yeah, like when people talk about Xiao teams, they think that the good characters of the Xiao team is like Xiao, Xianyun, and Furina. But like the best character in that team is Faruzan by far.
Yeah, I think like I remember talking about this with you, but like the difference between Xiao, Faruzan, Xianyun, Furina, and like Xiao, Faruzan, Bennett, and like Xiangling, it is not actually as Faruzan was the character that like pushed up Xiao. Like the Xianyun and Furina are more like icing on the cake sort of things.
But yeah, I agree. Faruzan is like very, very underestimated for sure.
Yeah, it just comes down to like how much, because obviously she's kind of like a niche sort of thing. So I guess it comes down to like how much you value.
She's niche and she's a lot worse without C6.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I just did a couple of viewer abysses today. I think one of them had C6 for Faruzan, one of them didn't, and it wasn't that bad. But yeah, obviously C6 is massive. Yeah, we don't need to go into that. I'm sure everyone in your chat and my chat knows how big of a difference it is. And apparently now she can even use the scroll set, and then you can give tenacity to Furina. So you can do scrolls,
Calm down on the cooking right there.
It's not even a cook.
We're gonna burn down the kitchen. Like, let's step back a little.
It's not even a cook. You do scrolls, faruzan, you do noblesse, shenyun, and then tenacity Furina, and then you get a bit of extra damage on your shell. It probably doesn't mean anything in the long run, but it's a third buffing set. It's quite cool.
True.
Did you want my opinion on xingqiu? I don't even know if it is a hot take, to be honest. For me, like, xingqiu and yelan are just not as... A lot of the newer characters for like the past like year and a half, they just don't really use that normal attack.
Yeah, I was
hydro character.
Pretty much since Al-Haytham.
And Arlecchino as well, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah,
those
but
two.
Like, if you look at before Al-Haytham, most carries really like xingqiu, and after Al-Haytham, most carries don't.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that with my chat as well. I was saying that because people are asking, oh, how do you compare Furina versus xingqiu versus yelan? And it's quite interesting. When I was looking at it, I said that if Furina didn't exist, and we still got the current, like, the dpses that came out, I think even if Furina didn't exist, xingqiu and yelan would still lose relevance, because I thought a lot of the teams that have come out over the past like year, Furina is not actually competing with xingqiu and yelan in terms of a slot. It was only like Al-Haytham, and then I think like if you have constellations on Furina for Arlecchino, maybe like Siege Rune as well. But there was like, it's just a lot of characters are designed to not want that normal attack hydro character, I guess. It's just the way they've kind of designed the game. It's like Furina is competing more with like xiangling and those kind of other non-hydro types of characters for like the past year. That's how I found it. Xiangling, or like, I don't know, kazuha, zhongli, whatever.
Candace, true.
Yeah, Candace as well. It's like almost Candace, like they've actively gone away from like dpses who want that synergy with the like the left clicking hydros. It's not that they're not that they're bad or that they've gotten worse. It's just, you know, the dpses that they've been releasing just don't, whether Furina was here or whether Furina wasn't here, they still wouldn't, a lot of them wouldn't really care that much about xingqiu and yelan. That's why I don't rate xingqiu as much, but it's not because I'm glazing yelan. I don't really rate her that highly either, if that makes sense.
I mean, I agree with the thought process. Like, I have put xingqiu down from #1 because of that. But I still put a lot of value in the defensive utility he provides. And I think there's a bit of recency bias in like the idea that just because he's not that synergistic with the new characters, that makes him a lot worse. Like, a lot of people still play the old characters as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say he's worse. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm saying like the past year and a half of characters. So it's not about them getting bad or worse. It's just about like the relevance, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone in my chat is asking, they said Zajef would put VV on Shenyun to buff Furina, whereas Jamie would put Furina on Tom to make Xiao do more. That is a good example of two people looking at the game from a different perspective. Yeah, that's like hyper buffing versus spreading out the investment a bit.
I don't think it's really a good example, because the reason why my Shenyun is on VV is because I don't want to farm a song set.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see that. There's that as well.
It's not really because I think it's optimal. It's because I don't want to farm a song set or have to swap my Shenyun build when I play her in vape teams.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Honestly, you're not the first person to say that today. There's a lot of people complaining these days about not wanting to put their xiangling on like a mualani buffing set. It's too annoying changing the builds around.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, which I get. Is this list ordered left to right?
Somewhat. Yeah.
So is it like a statement why you're putting neuvillette all the way on the left?
Yes.
See,
how does that make you feel?
I mean, like I said, like this is just content for me. I'm not taking it too serious, but I kind of agree. I think anyone who's like been streaming and like playing on a bunch of different accounts wouldn't underestimate neuvillette anymore. I guess you don't really do viewer bases, do you? I know you play on other people's accounts, but you don't.
Not really. No.
Okay, so you don't like. So for me, I like play on all sorts of scuff teams and then accounts and like help them get 36 star.
Yeah.
And the truth is neuvillette really is that guy, or at least has been that guy where
neuvillette is him.
There are like no offense, there are like weaker accounts that like viewers have and he is a lot of his team is just him, and you can get away with scuffed teams and underinvested characters, and you know all the everyone knows. I don't even need to get into it. You know, like the AOE stuff, healing, all that sorts of shit. Basically, he really is like a one-man army. Now that's not this. A lot of people say these days, they like push back. They're like, oh my god, but don't you know that his clear times are slower than this character or this character? Honestly, I don't really care that much. Even as a speedrunner, who cares? Because I think people are missing the point.
Nilou is not really a speedrun character. Not that he's bad in speedruns, but like a lot of his power budget is into the fact that his AoE is really good. He has really good like self-sustain, and his teams are pretty versatile. And like he's still pretty good in speedrun. Yeah,
I think just focusing on the damage is missing the point. Missing the point of why he's like so cracked, basically.
Yeah.
So that I mean I wouldn't necessarily put him at the number one or whatever, but I do agree he's still in like his own sort of, for the average player, not for like speedrunners or whatever, but for like for most players, he is still like the big me, not there's no big three. Even after like Mualani and Olakino came out.
That's crazy.
And yeah, like you said, his like clear times are not even bad. It's just like a lot of people, you know, when people are getting edgy, they'll be like, yeah, actually he's kind of fallen off now. He's not even that good. They say stuff like that. But I think you're missing that. If you say that, I think you're missing the points of what makes him so strong. When do you think the game started like having noticeable power creep and like sort of the balance getting a bit out of control? If you even think it has gotten out of control.
I think it's just neuvillette. Neuvillette release.
Yeah,
they made neuvillette too strong, and then they realized if we want to sell the new characters, we have to like give them some upside that at least like in some situation makes them competitive with neuvillette.
Yeah, for me, I kind of see like, because we were talking about it's maybe last stream or the stream before, I think there's like a couple of like significant milestones, but some of them are small milestones. So for me, like the first milestone is small or medium, whatever, was like Kazuha's release. Just because of how like he ended up being like one of the most teams involved like used him. You know, like whether it's the grouping or the buffing, whatever, making CC less cringe.
I don't actually necessarily agree though, because when Kazuha got released, there weren't that many teams that wanted Kazuha.
No, really? You sure? There was like less teams that didn't want Kazuha than they wanted him. Like Xiao, Eula. That was kind of it.
I mean, like when he was released, there were barely any teams where Kazuha was like meaningfully better than Sucrose. It was pretty much only like Freeze Ganyu.
Yeah. Okay. But then, well, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
So I don't think that Kazuha's impact on the meta really appeared when he came out. It like developed over time.
Okay, I can kind of agree with that, but I'm also focusing on like the whole package. So like the quality of life grouping on the skill, plus the buffs, and plus like his overworld presence, and just like him overall as a character. But again, I don't think that's a small power. I don't think that's a massive power creep. I just think that was like a small noticeable thing. Then there's stuff like Dendro raising the floor, or like the casual teams. But for me, like the two major ones, I would agree with you. It was neuvillette, and then I actually think it's like the artifact sets, which is like Marechaussee Hunter, Golden Troop, and then recently Scrolls set.
That's fair. Yeah, sure.
I think what they've kind of done with the Scroll set is kind of wild, I guess. Yeah, I mean that was my opinion, was that like character wise, it's only really like neuvillette who kind of messed things up. And then like if you want to talk about like the lower investment, like pushing the floor, then if you want to count Nahida, I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of a specific thing. Obviously there's like constellations that have got stronger over time, but I don't that doesn't really apply to me. It doesn't really apply to you, does it? So where are you putting Xiangling? And also where did watchmojo put Xiangling?
Xiangling was in the top 20, which surprised me. She was at like 15 or something.
Does that surprise you negatively or positively? Because sometimes
I don't expect them to put the 5 stars.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so it could go either way. People could either rate Xiangling highly, or they could rate it like a solid 4-star. It could go either way. I mean, I've been hearing people saying that Xiangling's bad now, so there's that as well. Did they put Hu Tao higher?
They put Risley higher, they put Hu Tao higher, they put Baizhu higher.
That's
They
fantastic.
put Tide higher.
That's great. It's great.
Fischl's not on the list at all. Saj.
I wouldn't put. Well, I wouldn't. I honestly don't rate fischl that much. I know it's like a blasphemy.
Aggravate hater.
Well, it's that. It's kind of. She's kind of just. Well, if you're talking about like optimal teams, she's kind of just aggravate, which is my stance
She's
on
also
it.
really good in Hyperbloom teams.
Okay, well, those Hyperbloom teams are like spread. Hyperbloom, the double electro stuff. I like those teams. Don't get me wrong. I advocate that a lot. Like Nahida, xingqiu, Shinobu, fischl. I advocate that team a lot, but it's kind of the same thing. Kind of. It's a bit more of a variation, but same concept. Which is that she's really good in that sort of.
She's also good in
situation.
Overload teams.
She's all right. She's
True.
future.
Raiden is better.
I think-
Equally, Raiden is better. You're right. You raise a very good point, Jamie. You are so right.
I don't know about that. I wasn't gonna say Raiden, but she's very replaceable in Overload if there ever comes out a different option, because he's only really doing damage. And okay, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Like honestly, a lot of this is it the right word? Like saying it's there are no hot takes. It's kind of lukewarm. Like there are a general like list of like 20 characters that people perceive are very strong, and it's just a lot of them are just kind of there. If that makes sense. Like if you like you said, you were not surprised with what watchmojo did. I'm pretty sure if you go onto like any like scuffed website tier list sort of thing, it would be like to a reasonable accuracy, like 80% of it probably is similar to what you just did. The order might be different, but the general
I would expect Kuki, fischl, and Chevreuse to not be.
I would expect Shinobu. I would expect Shinobu and fischl to be in most lists, honestly.
I think they should be, though.
I think they will. I don't know if Chevreuse would, but if you go on a like, I don't know, Game 8 or whatever, those kinds of tier lists, like, you will see people rate Shinobu and fischl highly.
Do you really think so?
I would be very surprised if there was like if they were less than like 80% was different than yours. Again, it's not about the order, but just about the characters.
I mean, we can take a look at Game 8. But yeah, so the highest tier, no fischl, no Kuki. They're below. Aware.
No, they're in the S tier of sub DPS.
Okay, but like there's an SS tier with 6 units in there.
Okay, but all those all the characters in the SS, apart from the support ones, the main DPS and sub DPS, you have in your list.
Yeah.
So it is kind of the same thing. It's just.
I guess, sure.
Yeah, the support section is. Are we looking at the same one? Yeah, we are looking at the same one. It is roughly the same thing, you know. If you like, the support section is kind of, you know, I don't think you had Kokomi there, or maybe even Baizhu there, but yeah, roughly. Also, I don't know what Raiden's the support. Raiden's in all 3 categories. I just realized.
Nice. And her highest placement is in the sub DPS category.
Yeah, but with casuals, you don't know. Like people you might, you know, on-field Raiden national might be considered sub DPS depending on who you ask.
Really sub DPS though?
If I don't know what.
DPS are any of these on-fielders? Wait, there's a Navia. What the? Navia's not in the main DPS. Okay, dude. Okay. What? It's fine. Everything is fine. Let's stop looking at it.
Sample team is Raiden national. Oh, Hyperbloom is sub DPS. Okay, if you click on their Raiden, you can see.
Base. If you click on what this?
If you click on like the icon on the Raiden, then it'll bring up their guide. So I think by sub DPS they mean a Hyperbloom. Yeah, okay, these guys might see sub DPS as off-field, but I'm sure there are people who would think of sub DPS as like they do less damage than the main DPS. You can go either way, depending on like which casual player you ask.
Wait, actually, so base though. They have Hyperbloom higher than the other ones. Wait, does Game 8 know what they're talking about? Can't wait. Holy base.
I mean, maybe it's like search engine optimized. Maybe they've seen that a lot of people Google EM. Why would you play EM Raiden? And then they you know, they organize the article by that.
Yeah, it's because of that, I'm sure. Like, apart from a few pretty wild things like these, this is actually not that bad of a list. Okay, never mind. Diluc is here. Ayato is here.
I mean, that's my point. That's my point is like anything like below like the whatever list you go on, like the top tiers or whatever, is generally going to be consistent. Once you get like below whatever, then you're starting to get into like variants.
Yeah.
But like there are general like known strong characters that people would that would just happen in like a sort of tier list sort of thing, you know. Like I genuinely think you could ask like ChatGPT the top 20 strongest characters and it would have an accuracy of within like 80% of what you did.
I don't know if,
not to say that you're an AI, I didn't mean that you're a bot, but
I don't think ChatGPT is updated like enough for that, so I doubt it.
I'm just looking at what DPS is. Oh, you have Navia here. You have
Yeah,
Arlecchino, Navia, Al-Haytham, Mualani,
and neuvillette. Yeah.
Did you just have like a quota of like you just like you've done all like the main supports and then you're like the most?
No, I
DPSs?
put all the units that I thought like could potentially make my top 20, and then I just chose 20 from those. These 5 are the 5 that like didn't make the cut that I could have put. Just asked ChatGPT the top 20 strongest Genshin characters, and it said number 1 is Hu Tao. Paul.
No, that might be one guy. I'm sure there is going to be a more accurate. Someone give the list. Someone do it and then give the list. I would bet at least 70% of it is similar to what zajef did. Okay, forget the honorable mentions. The list, the main list. Someone do it.
What are the 20 strongest Genshin Impact characters?
Oh, it's not updated past 2021.
Raiden, Bennett, zhongli, kazuha, Ganyu, Hu Tao, Xiao, Yai, Klee, fischl.
No, this is not
Aika,
updated. It's rigged. It's not
Venti,
updated.
Diluc, Mona, Nilou. It's Nilou.
Wait, it has Al-Haytham. It is updated past 2021.
Child, Chi-Chi, Wanderer. Perfect. Nilou.
Chi-Chi, strong healing and cryo application. Nah, that's rigged. That's rigged. Come on, that's not even... Okay, I was wrong. Okay. Once it gets
stronger than an AI, let's go!
Does auto mentions matter as much? Or is that just like a bit more random?
No, it's not ordered. It's just characters that I thought like some people would probably have in their top 20 if they had different criteria.
So what does Linny, Xiao, and...
I mean, Linny I would expect in your top 20.
No, I wouldn't. Honestly,
Really?
I'm not as tryhard as you think. Like, I'm tryhard myself, but the way I look at the game is not necessarily like that, you know... I can't explain it, but yeah, I wouldn't like just focus on like stuff like DPS and stuff. Like I know that he's like scuffed. Honestly, like a lot of your honorable mentions I wouldn't even have. I wouldn't even consider like some of the strongest, like even like characters I like. Like for me, out of all those honorable mentions, like Faruzan is the only one there really that
that makes sense.
I would say is, I don't know.
The ones that for me are the closest are Faruzan and Baizhu. I was hesitating between mualani, Al-Haytham, Faruzan, and Baizhu for who to put on the last two.
Jamie rates neuvillette above mualani, which is proof that his takes on speedrun progress. Yeah, I mean, everyone in the speedrun community knows that mualani is like clearer of everyone at the moment, but again, yeah, that's just like one part of the game. Yeah,
to be fair, the Abyss blessing is kind of has been
but that's what
strong.
That's what people say, but the patch before, the 4.8 patch, she was still clear of everyone, and so far, like this current patch, she is still like clear of everyone, as far as I know, as far as I've seen. But
I see
that is speedrun for that is like, you know, your
mualani is definitely a very good speedrun unit.
She was basically everything about it is basically designed for like sweaty players to just take advantage of, like just everything about the kit. But again, that's not. I'm fully aware that that's not for everyone. But then again, then there's the discussion, like, is she still good for casual players? You probably get people saying, oh yeah, she's good for speed runs, but you know, I wouldn't want to reset in the casual Abyss with her. But then I would say, even without resetting, she's probably still is very good for casual players, because at the end of the day, she still is doing some crazy damage, and she works with so many different teammates.
I think she's good, but I wouldn't say very good, because like she does feel kind of clunky to use compared to a lot of more comfortable characters.
Compared to neuvillette, sure, but like you could find clunk in basically any other character, I think. Like for example, Arlecchino kind of has like no flaws apart from the fact that she can't be healed, but that's like a big flaw for like the average player. It's a massive flaw.
Yeah.
But aside from that, she's like almost perfect as a character. I found out whilst I was doing my runs, there is actually a big difference between Archaic Petra and Instructor on xiangling, which I didn't know before. And I don't know if people realized it, but it's the fact that with Instructor, you have to hit the enemy with her on field.
Yes.
Which sounds obvious, but if you think about it, like with Archaic Petra, she can just pick up the shard. And for example, like if you have like you use mualani, then you use xiangling, then you swirl with sucrose, you don't have hydro for xiangling to swirl off.
Yeah,
with vapor.
Personally, I'm a hater of the Geo emoji. I understand it, but I really don't like it. And I think the main reason why you like it so much is because you often kill the enemies in 2 E's or in 2 chomps. Because when you do 3 chomps, you just get better results with Candace than with Anemo.
Not even just kindness. So in my video yesterday, I actually said, I basically said that I wouldn't recommend the Anemo like sucrose or kazuha for everyone. But I'm actually guessing like a double geo might actually be popular for casuals for comfy play. Like it sounds dumb, but like I can see like xiangling and zhongli being pretty popular for like an Unga Bunga team. It's basically like Candace with less damage, but you have a shield.
Makes a lot of sense.
Honestly, overall, yeah, like I said, I don't really see, even if you have ordered yours left to right on your list, I'm sure in general, like your chat, whoever you've asked probably would say for what it is, like obviously this is like a content sort of tier list sort of thing. You won't get much pushback because like I said, there's like a almost established strong characters sort of thing. The only thing people would probably debate is like the dpses after neuvillette, but honestly, who really cares? Like I'm sure you had your reasons for putting like certain dpses in, but
yeah, like Arlecchino's, I don't think I have to explain Arlecchino too much, but
yeah,
probably like Navia's here because of her ability to just perform better than her DPS says she does.
Oh, I thought you would have put her because she's easy to play and she's like shielded, and
that's not, I mean, to some extent I guess, but that's not the main point.
Okay.
Like she front loads her damage really well. She can borrow damage from her next rotation. It makes her a lot easier. Like it makes her rotations a lot easier to do in practice, and like it makes it easier for most people to actually get the damage they're supposed to.
Okay. Okay, that is a perfect example of the irony, because I guess someone would expect me to say that, and for you to say that it was easy, and for me to say that, oh, it's because she can like follow the damage. But actually it's the other way around. So you like the follow the damage, I like the easy to play. You know, if someone comes into like the YouTube comments or Twitch chat and wants to know if I recommend Navia, the thing of pulling her, yeah, I say she's one of the strongest DPSs. Honestly, like nilou, even though I'm like a big nilou main, I don't even know if I consider her like that super strong anymore. I still like her. I still recommend her if people like want to play her, and she still can be strong, but she's kind of...
Abysses lately have been a lot less AoE, so that's like something that goes against her for sure.
Yeah, and they haven't really released like Dendro characters or Hydro characters that work a lot with her. They've kind of like let her sit with what she was good at like a year ago, and then haven't really done anything with it.
She's just vibing.
Yeah, you could say like stagnating or whatever. And there's been like newer playstyles that have come out that are like the new hype trains, stuff like that, like different reactions sort of thing. So she's less unique now. It's like Burning's got their own team, like Forward Vape has their own team. There's a lot more like niches out. She's less unique, I guess.
You made the same argument for Ayaka. You can make a similar argument, but the main difference is that nilou is stronger in abysses that are not great for her than Ayaka is in abysses that are not great for her.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like the only abysses where nilou feels like truly unplayable are the ones with like hanky cryo shields.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because there is like the cryo shield boss, that Coppelius, but you can get by that with the sword, if people know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like you didn't like baizhu.
Yeah, baizhu got a lot stronger with Furina's release. I used to think baizhu was pretty ass, but Furina pretty much single-handedly gave baizhu like 20 different teams.
Really? I mean,
yeah.
He is popular, but I always thought like it was just because, you know, like neuvillette 4th.
Is there like a single baizhu team where you play him without Furina? Like, not really. Like, I guess to some extent, some aggravate teams where you just want a healer. But like a lot of people are just gonna play Kirara instead.
Like I don't want to disrespect him because I think I like him. I know a lot of people like him, but he's kind of just there in a lot of his teams.
Yeah, I mean that's why
like,
he didn't.
He kind of like, I wouldn't say he's like powerful. Like it's hard to explain it, but he kind of, you know, he's like the popular pick, but he doesn't really. Yeah. He's not like contributing in like a meaningful way outside of being like a very nice healer and interrupt resist guy.
Yeah, but being a nice healer is good enough, honestly. Go ahead.
Technically, your list does say strongest, you know.
It doesn't actually say strongest, it says list.
Okay. Maybe I'm just not looking at the right in the right perspective right now, but yeah, in general, they just don't put that, like the Dendro healer role, like there's enough power budget in just that as it is. Yeah. Because of like how Dendro is and how healers are with Furina, that he doesn't actually have to do much. So it's just me. I wouldn't see that as like him being strong or anything. He's kind of, because you can look at how quickly like people just hopped from him to Xiangling for neuvillette. But once there was like an actual buffing option there, that also heals. Once you do the Abyss, you will see that why I think zhongli will still be very popular in this Abyss. With the two, there's the consecrated beast on the top half, and then there's the two geo shield bosses on the bottom half. It's basically
I should go do it now.
It's a zhongli Abyss basically, and yeah, I agree. Basically, they've designed the Abyss to like shield res shredders and like hydro DPSs on the top half, but then they're shielding geo teams or overload teams, but you know, for casual players it's more geo teams on the bottom half, which means like there's a good chance navia mains, the most popular teammate would be zhongli, and because they want you to play your geo team on the bottom half, and then but you can still play navia on the top half obviously, but you know, for people who don't have the biggest rosters, you're probably playing your geo team on the bottom half. And then on the top half, like consecrated beasts, people, you know, like if you look on like Reddit and stuff, there's people raging about those kinds of enemies all the time, that I don't see people playing. I don't see the average player not playing a shield there either. But they have also designed it. It's very clever how they design this Abyss. Like they've put these high res enemies, and I did some calcs. I think like basically they're trying to sell Xiangling and then put non-grouping abysses, so you're less incentivized to play kazuha. It's very clever how they've done it. And then they're like even more pyro resistant, even more electro resistant. So they're kind of trying to sell Xiangling hydro DPS teams very hard.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna go do the Abyss now.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. By.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna go do some Memory of Chaos as well.
Asia business.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
So overall, I think I hated your list, but yeah.
I see.
That's the conclusion. That's the conclusion.
I see. I'll be keeping it to myself next time.
Yeah, I'm sure you care about that opinion of mine very much.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks for the chat. See you later, guys.
Bye.